Wow. All I have to say is wow. That was so good. Man, I'm just fanboying. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to SIBZ, West Coast, East Coast Siblings, where we break down your favorite movies and TV shows. Today we are talking the premiere, episode 1 of Superman and Lois. It just came on the CW. Before we get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button, click the bell, all that stuff, as we'll be doing a full series on this. Man, this is going to be my reaction, review. Let's just get into it. So right off the bat, man, the graphics. I think the budget is the first thing that we have to acknowledge in this show. CW, the folks over there said that they had spent a little more, taking a little bit more time on this show, and it definitely shows. We were able to see Superman in action from the get-go. There was no delay in just jumping right into the action on this show. The scenes with Haywire, we thought he was Haywire, turns out to be Lex Luthor. We'll get to that in a second. The scenes with him, the scenes with Superman dropping that giant thing of ice into that nuclear reactor or whatever. So they definitely came out swinging as far as the effects. Now, the question that you have to ask, of course, is how much of their budget did they spend on those opening sequences? Now, the season is not as long, so obviously they'll have a little bit more money to spend on each episode, kind of like a WandaVision or one of the Marvel shows. But man, it definitely showed, and that's what I was most excited about. So as we had known from the trailers, the show primarily deals with Clark and with Lois as they are acclimating themselves to a new life in Smallville. Now this happens after Martha dies. She wanted Clark to come back home. He remembers her saying that. And now he realizes that the reason is because their family needed to simplify. They needed to streamline and optimize their family unit, and coming to Smallville and getting rid of a lot of distractions was the main way that Martha thought that should be done. And when she died, they found out that Martha had put half of the property, half of the Kent farm was owned by the bank. And so they were in a situation now where they either pay the other half and own the entire farm, or they accept a generous offer and just sell the Kent farm. And so that was obviously something that Clark did not want to do. So they end up buying the farm, and now they're moving in as a family. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but somebody apparently decided to move a monster truck outside of my studio. So, but no, fantastic overall. They really opened up a lot of doors, and there's so much in the story to dive into. So we're going to go through it piece by piece. So, by the way, sit back and relax as we get into this. So there was a debate about Tyler's version of Superman, right? And even Bitsy Talak's version of Lois Lane. Let me just say now that they were very good. I think they were very good. They have a lot of room to grow, but they've also come a long way from where they were at Crisis on Infinite Earths and all the other places that we had seen them in Supergirl, etc. Tyler's definitely had a lot more time to grow into the Superman character. I think he's done a lot more homework and watched a lot more Superman, whether it's live action or like Lois and Clark or Smallville and stuff like that. Obviously, Zack Snyder's version of Man of Steel is a huge inspiration for this TV show, and a lot of the tone and feel of the show comes directly from Man of Steel. So all of it, and obviously it was shot in 16:9 as well, so if you could notice a little bit of a different feel in the show as well, it was also because they were shooting it in movie format. So it was supposed to give you that more cinematic look, and then they came through with the graphics and with just the tone of the whole thing. Now let's talk about Jordan and Jonathan. So the whole thing with this episode was that they thought Jonathan had the superpowers, right? They thought he was the one who had the abilities, and there was an incident in the barn where they were trying to mess with a router, Jordan was, and a whole bunch of steel pipes fell down on them. And actually, it ended up being Jordan who has the powers. So I guess Jonathan just has to settle with being an all-star athlete. But obviously, this was something that we had expected, right? They're the children of Superman, so we're waiting for powers. Now, the question is going to be, how much of a role are these two going to play in the show? I have always had some issue with Superman shows not showing enough Superman. Not that they're not good, okay? And I even had this issue with Gotham, right? Because it's a show about everybody but Batman. but none of them would even be there without Batman. And the same thing, you know, Lois and Clark, Smallville, like we never got full-fledged Superman just about Superman. You know what I'm saying? It's been a while. So I'm very happy with the way the show looks right now, with it largely focusing on Superman and lots of special effects. I think Superman may, especially in the modern age, he may be too big of a character for TV. I'm struggling with that, as well as with Batman. And I was always conflicted about this because obviously as DC fans, as superhero fans, we want to see more of our favorite characters on TV and in more comics. Well, they have a ton of comics, but in movies and more video games and stuff like that. Oh, shout out to Injustice, by the way. Jordan was playing Injustice. And well, there's an interesting thing because he was playing as Superman fighting Raiden from Mortal Kombat. And as we know, they've crossed over in the past. So in this universe, they've officially canonized the Mortal Kombat characters into the DCEU. Is that a stretch? I mean, think about it. Yeah, Superman was in a video game, right? But he was a real person, a real character in the show that they made a video game out of. So where'd they get the idea for Raiden? And the other Mortal Kombat. I mean, we know there's a Mortal Kombat movie coming out, and I talked about, I did a reaction to that trailer. I'll leave a link in the description below. I did a video about that. Could there be crossover potential? I don't know. I had said before, I think based on how Disney deals with Deadpool rated R movies, that's going to tell DC how they can kind of take that darker Mortal Kombat rated R type stuff and bring it into the more PG-13, dark PG-13, almost rated R DCEU. But I digress. Shout out to Injustice 2. So now that Jordan is the one with the powers, it's only a matter of time before he really starts coming into his own. And could he possibly become a villain? I don't know. Are Jonathan's powers still there, but just latent? Could he really just have no powers? I don't know. So this episode, the main villain of this episode is actually Lex Luthor, right? And guys, I have mixed feelings because at first I'm like, Lex again? Like, haven't we had enough Lex Luthor in everything, in all of the things, in every single Superman movie? And okay, he's a classic character, but he's not really that much of a threat. Well, I guess I couldn't say that based on the fights that they were having, but he was basically in one of those Lex robot suits. And he had kryptonite already. And remember, this is a Superman who's been around for a while, so he knows who Lex is, and he's fought Lex before, I would assume. Remember, there are still some things settling in the dust since Crisis on Infinite Earths. And now John Diggle, I'm assuming we'll see John Diggle as well, his version of the Green Lantern sometime soon in this season for sure of Superman and Lois. And he's going to connect the whole HBO Max DCEU to the CW DCEU. And Stargirl, all that stuff is mixed up and kind of trying to find a home on a platform. Obviously, all these shows are probably going to end up on HBO Max, but you can tell there's like a tier as far as budget and quality, with CW being kind of the lower tier, and then Superman and Lois being like their creme de la creme, their premium show, and then HBO Max, like this is like a slightly lower tier HBO Max show, but really, really close. I was impressed with the quality through and through. So another thing we have is Sam, who is Lois's father. He was getting in the mix. He found the Lex robot, right, which some people were thinking was haywire. And he was like, listen, you've got to suit up. You've got to fight this thing. And so Superman ultimately ends up doing that. But there's a conflict coming here because Lois wants Superman to have a normal life, as any spouse would. Like, you want the best for your spouse. But at the same time, Lois's father makes a good point in saying, you may have fallen in love with Clark Kent, but you married Superman, and Superman doesn't get a day off. Like, these people need him. And she's like, oh, well, his family needs him more. I mean, I understand that. But the best thing for your family is saving the world. You know, so that logic never really follows through when they say, oh, but we need you more. Okay, well, if he neglects that, you will all die, you know, in those life-threatening situations and things like that. So, man, some other things we got. Martha, right? So, Martha, we can't forget Martha, who obviously is kind of become somewhat of a joke now, but she dies in this show. Doesn't even make it past the first episode, really. So that was pretty sad, but John was already gone, and it makes sense because this was kind of the catalyst that made Lois and Clark move back to Smallville in the first place. So, I mean, she's not an essential character, and like I said, we're dealing with a Superman who's kind of already developed as who he is as far as Superman. So she wasn't somebody who necessarily needed to stick around, although she's a beloved character. Something else we saw Lana Lang and her husband, who's a firefighter. He's crazy about Morgan Edge, who's moving into Smallville, buying up all this land to use as coal mines, basically. And there's something sinister behind that, but we won't find out more about that. Her husband's name is Kyle, by the way, the fire chief, and he was there when Jordan did the laser eyes and showed off his powers in front of everyone. Now, here's the thing. Superman was talking about one mistake, one thing that they do, and our cover is blown. That was the one mistake. I mean, do they really expect us to believe that in that bonfire, nobody with all of their cell phone cameras, we saw that, shooting lasers out of his eyes? They want to say nobody believes that? Speaking of things that's hard to believe, when Superman obviously announces, he lets Jordan and Jonathan know that he's Superman. And they're like, no, we've seen Superman. By the way, this kid is stepping to his dad, like, super disrespectful at sometimes, I'm like, whew, kid's got some nerve. He says, no, we've seen Superman. You can't be Superman. This man takes off his glasses. I mean, the glasses thing is already kind of the thing that Superman fans, we don't like to talk about. Obviously, it's a dumb disguise, okay? I don't think that's saying too much to say. It's hard to believe. But his own children? And I was thinking, oh, well, you see Superman kind of on the news and flying. He's always so high up in the sky or something like that. But the fact that he had to take his glasses off for his own children to recognize him. They never saw his dad without his glasses. Ever. I mean, just some of the little things. And I'm nitpicking because the show really, really, really was satisfying. It was really good. But that was just one a funny point to me. So another thing, the parents playing favorites, and I think this will develop obviously more as the show goes on. Clark obviously loves Jonathan, and Lois loves Jordan. They both love their kids, but they love them different. That's what the parents like to say. But they really have favorites, and so we saw this obviously in a scene where they had both gotten in trouble or whatever, and the two kids walk between Lois and Clark and Lois, and Clark puts his hand on Jonathan's shoulder like, it's all right, buddy, and then he doesn't to Jordan, and Lois does it to Jordan, and she puts her hand on him. So you can kind of see they both have their favorites there. Obviously, Jonathan being, kind of the go-getter, all-star football player, stuff like that. His dad, I guess, naturally gravitated more to him. So that's something that's going to develop. Jordan already doesn't like his dad, or is having some real issues because of the favoritism. And I think that that's possibly going to drive him more toward that darker path, toward that villainous type role that typically happens. By the way, if you're still watching, again, be sure to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, as we cover your favorite movies and TV shows. Of course, we're covering The Flash. Of course, we're covering The Walking Dead. Of course, we're covering your favorite shows. Leave a comment down below what you want to see us cover. A lot of content coming soon. So, again, you want to hit the subscribe button and the bell as I try to put these episodes up as soon as I can right after the show. So, usually it's either less than an hour to 2.5 hours after the show. But you want to hit that bell notification so you can know as soon as it comes out. So, yeah, guys. I cannot say enough how impressed I was with this show. The budget, the tone, the feel. I was a big fan of Man of Steel, so this reiterated and echoed a lot of those tones and that design language aesthetically. And so I was just very, 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 very pleased with it. I hope they continue down this path of lots of action, okay? And just, feel good stories, staying true to Superman's character. Developing the kids, not making them too much of a big role. before their time, because we still want to see a little bit more Superman before another character comes in and takes over. But guys, obviously this is a conversation. I'm going to be hanging out in the comments, so let me know down below, guys, what you thought of the show. If you're excited for it, if you thought it didn't do too much, let me know down in the comments. Also, again, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe so you don't miss an episode as we cover your favorite movies and TV shows. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.